Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in today's call of Your Divine Uniqueness. And so today's call is with Matthew Jones. So I'm very excited that he's back. He's been joining us for the past couple of years, every season, and really the information that he brings every time. It brings so much clarity, so much understanding about our ascension or awakening journey, and also about our unique gifts, and also like as starseeds, other beings we are connected to understand who they are, and also like the kind of connection that we may have with them. And today's call will be about clearing karma and also moving forward in our ascension. And it feels it will be really powerful because we are in energetically, we are in a transition phase where we are letting go, like about how to say, like so much energetically, like letting go of all the beliefs, karma, and we are going through many different soul lessons. And I feel that this call will bring so much clarity about that, about karma we may have, about soul lessons, about clearing that, and also stepping into our, how to say, soul mission or our purpose in life. And it will be very inspiring as always. And also we'll have a Q&A later in the second part of the call. And Matthew will do live readings for the live callers about how to say, karmic imprints, and also or obstacles, and also their soul mission. So stay tuned for that. And so before we start, I would love to share maybe briefly about Matthew. He is an internationally recognized spiritual teacher, spiritual mentor, intuitive, psychic, medium, intuitive astrologer, starseed guide, energy healer, medical intuitive, and life coach, working with angels, archangels, and ascended masters. He is a gifted intuitive, wisdom channeler, and transmitter of healing frequencies. And so with that, Matthew, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm excited to be back.
Wonderful. So maybe let's start talking about maybe this time we are living in, and maybe the importance of that, about clearing our karmic obstacles and stepping more into our truth.
Excellent. Yeah, good. That's a good way to start this. So, if we kind of zoom out, of course, so many of us, those of you that are watching Monsef's shows and some of the other amazing content that's out there on YouTube and other platforms, from teachers like myself and Monsef, we know that we're in this time of awakening, we're in this time of ascension. And if we zoom out, really this time encompasses a span of decades and most likely really centuries even. And we come into, I like to refer to the lifetime that you come here, that is, if you want to, essentially, and it's really not you, it's your soul. If your soul wants to, this could essentially be the last lifetime that you have to live on Earth, because if you're able to work with and clear out all your negative karma during this one ascension lifetime, you're able to then have the mobility, the frequency mobility to spend your next lifetimes either coming back as a bodhisattva or even moving on to other planets. Many people will end up back in the Pleiades or back up in Syrian realms or Arcturian realms, etc. So in the context of ascension, it's important that we work through all of our karma, all of our negative karma. Negative karma is a real thing. It's just often misunderstood. And we're going to dive, deeply into the idea of negative karma today. But it is important that we clear all of our negative karma in the context of the ascension lifetime if we really are going to make that our, quote unquote, last required lifetime on Earth. So now zooming in a little bit, what I wanted to really talk about, I mean, look where we're at in the calendar. It's December 13th when we're recording this live. A lot of people are watching this, rest of December into January. So we're moving into the next calendar year, and every time we transition, from one calendar year to the next, it's a wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity to recreate ourselves. It's a wonderful opportunity to do clearing so that we can put ourselves in the position to create what we've been wanting to create. And just having this opportunity, I want to really, my intention for today's call is to help people understand, and also to be very inspiring and motivating, to help people have their best 2023. And the clearer we can get, the better we'll be able to have a great 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. And so also a question, because we talk a lot about karma, and sometimes, how to say, when we talk about that, it causes some kind of fear. And so from your perspective, how do you approach that subject?
Wonderful question. Yeah. To the masses, that the idea of karma, usually is like, oh, someone does something bad and then something bad happens back to them, instant karma or whatever, right? There is somewhat of a truth to that, but it's of course never that simple. To simplify karma is a record, so to speak, of all actions. The Hindus know this. The Hindus know that there's both positive karma and negative karma. Positive karmas are acts that you do that are out of loving kindness. I love that word, loving kindness. That comes from Zen Buddhism. And acts that are of service to other, acts that are of service to the planet, service to animals, service to self in a positive way, as in healing the self, as in loving the self. So any acts basically out of loving kindness are building that positive karma. Any acts that are out of the darker vibrations, which would be greed and taking advantage of others, victimizing others, causing harm to others, those also create like a karmic ledger throughout your existence. Now, the funny thing about karma is so many of you have watched me on different shows and heard me talk about the idea of soul contracts and about life plans, and that so much of what we experience in our lives is actually pre-planned. And throughout my decade plus studying and really diving deeply into this all this stuff, I've always wondered, how much of our lives are pre-planned versus how much of our lives do we actually have free will. And I've made that, one of the principal points of study for myself. And I'm lucky enough to be in the position where I get to work with people every single day, really 7 days a week, and dive into, using my clairvoyance and my claircognizance, dive into their life plans, connect with their guides, and also leading people on things like past life regressions. It's one of the things that I do in my practice. So I really have a lot of data to look into, well, okay, what did the soul plan and what did the soul leave up to the free will of you, of the person, of the character? The more deeply I've gone into this work, the more and not only that, astrology as well, digging into people's natal charts and seeing like, oh yeah, you had this divorce at age 56. Well, I can see it in your chart when Pluto was making this aspect, right? And essentially, the more deeply I've gone into the work, the more that I've come to the belief that more things than not are pre-planned, that our lives are more pre-planned than we may think. Not everything. I firmly believe that there is a lot of still free will variance. And I like that word variance, where the soul may create different paths based on different important choice points. There's, imagine it's like a whole group of different trails that are leading up to a mountain, and you can take all sorts of different trails, and there's all sorts of different juncture points where you could go right, or you could go straight, or you could go left. And those juncture points will determine the next path that you take. But regardless, you're always getting the lessons that you need, because you're still on the mountain itself is the lessons. And let's say, we could say obstacles are represented by having to ford a river, having to climb a waterfall, having to go up a rock slide, right? Those of you that are hikers like myself, you know what I'm talking about. But those obstacles you're going to encounter on all trails, right? It's just the minor details of how, where, and when that is kind of more left up to free will variance. Now, the reason I want to bring all that up is because the idea of building negative karma, and we ask ourselves why, because of course, if we're conscious, those of us that are in this ascension lifetime, we're now so conscious, we're so empathic. It's hard for most of us to kill a bug. You know, it's hard for us to do any harm to others. We end up being very careful with our words, very careful with others' hearts, because we don't want to spread we don't want to build any more negative karma, because we feel it. We become so empathic that we feel the pain of others. We feel the pain of the world. We see how the world is functioning and how dysfunctional it is and how cruel it is. The homelessness, the poverty, the fact that, you know, a quarter of our planet does not have enough food, you know, and this is 2022. And you'd think by now, at minimum, everyone on the planet should have, you know, enough food and clean water. That's not the case. Half of the planet doesn't have clean water. You know, most of the planet doesn't have clean air. If you zoom out, you know, we're really messed up as a planet, and we all know that. But we see that as empaths. We see that as ascending beings, and we're like, no more, no more, no more. So we end up being very careful. Now, one of the side effects that, you know, just to go off on a slight tangent for a second, is that some of us then end up being victim to like narcissistic type people taking advantage of us, because we are so empathic and we don't want to hurt anyone else, that we end up, you know, drawing into people that test our boundaries. So to see if we're able to at least stand up for ourselves, that can be a lesson for a lot of empaths. But as empaths, we're so aware of that. But the thing is, it doesn't mean that we have no negative karma. And that's from past lives. And that's kind of a myth that some people have that I've seen, is that just because you're an ascending being, just because you're a light worker, just because you're a starseed, it does not mean that you brought no negative karma into this life. It's actually likely you did. And we can see evidence of that. This is one of the harder truths. And if this doesn't resonate with anyone, you know, please there's other teachers out there, but it's my understanding that the ways you were victimized in this life, the ways that others victimized you, it's a similar frequency to how another character that you played in a different lifetime on Earth had done those things to others. The people that you look at in your immediate vicinity, as far as your family, your relationships, your friendships, your coworkers, and just expand it out, the people, you know, politicians, celebrities, things, all the people the things and people, whether we know them or not, that we judge the most, that we judge the harshest, that we feel the most disgusted by. These are the same things that in other characters we have done, in the role of other characters we played in other lifetimes on Earth. We've done this. Understanding this helps brings us closer to really understanding and integrating the truth of non-duality, which is that the dark and the light are of the same value. Essentially, the dark and the light are meant to both exist in a polarity, at least in this dimension, not in all dimensions, not in all dimensions or densities, at higher dimensions, at higher densities, on other planets and other star systems and other galaxies, in other dimensional frequencies, which all exist, in other universes maybe, which all exist. There may not be a necessity for the experience of duality, and it may just be the experience of light, which would be quite a blissful experience. And actually, those of us that are starseeds, which is probably everyone on this call, because the starseeds are attracted to me like mosquitoes on to a bug zapper, but in a positive way. I'm like the starseed guy, on the internet now. So if you're a starseed, which you probably are if you're watching this, you have somewhere in your history, in your Akashic records, you have the experience of existing on some higher dimension or higher density realm where it was just light, or it is just light. And we could say, we don't even have to use the word was. We could say that there's a part of us that is concurrently existing. And that is true, because the idea of time, when we really zoom out, you know, time only appears to be spread out. And really, in reality, it's like the cat in Men in Black, in the first Men in Black movie, wearing the marble. And then it goes to all the other universes, you know, in the quantum realm, everything is just one, right? So we've had that experience, but we come intentionally down into this earth realm or to other realms. Maybe we went to a planet in Alpha Centauri, or maybe we went to a dualistic planet on Sirius B, or there's many other parts of this galaxy, as far as I know, where the experience of duality can be had, the experience of intense polarity. It's not just Earth, but Earth may be the most extreme one, or one of the more extreme ones. But we intentionally come here because we've already ascended way past the frequency that is required to be an ascended being on Earth, way past that to a much higher frequency or much higher density or dimension. And then we desire to have the experience of diving back down. It's like being a scuba diver, and you're coming from just existing in this, you know, environment that you're used to on land, and you dive down into the ocean. You want to, it's a desire to experience extreme duality. In that desire to experience extreme duality, we desire to play both sides. We desire to play victim, victimizer, perpetrator, victim. Okay, we desire to experience what it's like to hurt others and to be hurt. In the context of the Ascension lifetime, what's happening for almost all of us is that we have to go through experiences. A lot of times it's earlier in life. For others, it's later in life through relationships, or sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's health issues. Sometimes it's accidents. It could be all of these things. But we desire to plan a lifetime for the Ascension lifetime where we're going to have the opportunity to clear out all karma. The first step to clearing out all karma is we first have to re-experience it in some way. So the things that are left uncleared, and one way to look at karma is, you know, those of us that are here, you probably know we have an energy field, right? You know, let me know in the chat here if you've ever been able to feel or see your own aura. I'd love to hear from people, okay? So we all know that we have an energy field. There's different layers to the energy field. One aspect of looking at the energy field, what I've been able to see is that we can actually feel karmic blocks in our energy field. And then they'll also, let me know in the chat if you're aware that we have both a front and a back to our chakras, okay? So the other thing, not just seeing these blocks in our energy field, but also in the backs of our chakras. The backs of our chakras is where the stuff from other lifetimes is stored. And then those blocks in the backs of the chakras magnetize to us the exact karmic experiences that we need to have in this lifetime in order to re-experience that karma in some way. And then the next step with that, after we're able to re-experience it in some way, is to move through the process of clearing it, which of course I'm going to get to in a minute. I'm not going to leave you hanging as like, oh yeah, now we know what karma is, Matt, but how do we clear it? I'm definitely going to go through that. So that karma gets carried over. It's imprinted in the energy field. As soon as we're born into this planet, we have an aura, we have an energy field, and there are karmic imprints in that energy field. Now, for those of you that are astrologers, let me know in the chat if anyone's an astrologer. I love astrology. I'm an intuitive astrologer. We can see in the natal chart, for example, we can absolutely find negative karma. You know, we can look at things like Chiron. We can look at Saturn. We can look at Pluto, right? We can look at Black Moon Lilith. We can look at your nodes, your South and North node, right? So, and that's one of the things that I love to do in my readings. And we're actually I'm being very generous with my special offer packages today. And one of the packages, you do get actually 2 private sessions with me, and we can absolutely look into your astrology and anything else that you're interested in. But we can see it in the astrology, in the natal chart, which means it kind of proves, at least to me, that your soul chooses the exact date and time and location. Your soul chooses the exact parents. Another way to see negative karma is to look back through your family's history, through your ancestral history. Your ancestral history will mirror in many ways your past life history. That's something to remember. So look at the traumas, the ways that your ancestors were victimized, from your parents, your grandparents, and all the way back. And also look at the ways in which your parents, grandparents, whatever, victimize others or victimize themselves. I mean, one aspect of building negative karma is harming the self. We can harm the self through drug addiction, alcohol addiction, low self-esteem, anything that's harming the self. So you look at past your ancestral history that will absolutely mirror the same experiences you've had in past lives on both sides. Both sides, meaning one life you hurt others in this way, and another life let's take alcohol addiction, right? And let me know in the chat if anyone has struggled in this life with alcohol addiction, or had a parent or a grandparent or anything like that, or a friend. Yeah, Karen saying lots of addiction in her family. So let's say with alcohol addiction, let's say in this life you come into a family where your father is an alcohol addict, and because of that, maybe he has angry outbursts, or maybe, God forbid, he's violent or anything like that, right? As a soul, that's going to be reflecting a couple things. It's going to be reflecting likely a lifetime where you played a similar character, where you played a character that, and this was by design. This is what I want to help people understand. It's by design, because when we come into this earth realm, we desire to experience both sides. We desire to experience both sides of the karmic seesaw. That's one of the whole points. The whole point of coming here as a starseed is to experience both sides of the karmic seesaw, okay? And then eventually get to a point where we say, you know what? That was interesting. That was fun. Now let's move on to the ascension process. And when you move on to the ascension process, you say, okay, now time to clear up all the karma and move on to just creating, move on to just being of service, move on to just being a cog in the wheel of the new earth, move on to being a conscious contributor to the new earth through service mission, which we'll talk about today. Is this helping? I want to hear, in the chat, and Monsef, is this helping so far to help us understand karma? I've got a lot more. I just want to check in with people.
Yes, it does. And I know that you wrote, you explained both sides of the karma, not the negative one, because this is what we, in general, what we knew and what we learned. And also when we see that it's also something that we are clearing from past lives through characters that we played, we don't end up being like a victim. We take some kind of responsibility here.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Let's emphasize that, because the truth is that, the ways you've been victimized in this lifetime, now to the self, to the person that experienced it, it's never your fault. It's never someone's fault if they're victimized, of course, in this life. But we're talking about zooming out. We're talking about zooming out to the experience of the soul and asking the question, why did the soul plan to be victimized in some way? And the answer lies in karma, usually. It's that, and it's never a punishment. It's just a desire to experience both sides. And let's talk about soul contracts. So soul contracts come in different forms. We could say there's a specific contract with your service mission on this planet. We could say there's specific contracts with other souls. We could say there's specific contracts with guides, and these are all true. But let's for a moment talk about specific contracts with other beings, with other souls, okay? There's a soul group Usually a soul group has 12 souls in it. You're a part of that soul group. Imagine that there's 12 actors that are perpetual actors, and they're always writing different plays for one another to be in with each other. And as they write each play, they say, okay, I'll play this character. You know, in one play, I'm going to be the villain. In one play, I'm going to be the hero. In one play, I'm going to be your mom. In one play, I'm going to be your dad. In one play, you're going to be my mom. One play, we're going to be romantic partners. One play, we're going to be, you know, frost lovers that end up hating each other and are enemies. And this is what it is with your soul group. And there's a soul group of 12, and then there's also a monadic group. The monadic group encompasses 144 souls. The number 12 is very important in life and creation. Number, 3, 6, 9, and 12 are very important. And so you play all these different roles with the other 11 souls in your soul group throughout eternity in the context of Earth. And you also call in contracts, you create contracts with the other 143 souls that are around you as well. And so you can see so the law of karma exists as a universal law, meaning, so for example, a lot of people look at bad people in the world, and there's a heck of a lot of bad people in the world. And it seems sometimes like these bad people never get their comeuppance. It seems like some of these bad people just seem to just skate on by and never face any consequences. And first of all, we never know what is tormenting them behind the scenes. People that are hurting people that are causing harm to others, especially on a mass scale, there's stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. That is an aspect of that bad karma coming back at them. But it's not just in the context or the container of a single lifetime. Those bad people are going to have to come back in the next lifetime, and the next lifetime, and the next lifetime, and deal with and try to clear out that bad karma. That's the natural trajectory of ascension. It's inevitable. So what those people are doing as souls, they're desiring to play a certain role. Narcissists in this world, criminals in this world, and this is the non-dual perspective, is they are desiring as a soul to play that role, to be the contrasting role to the light. Because by seeing the contrast of the light, by seeing the dark, it motivates something within us. It motivates like a flame within us as human beings to seek out the light more, to seek out ascension. The awakening on this planet has to come through the experience of darkness in some way. So this is why at a macro scale on the planet, we're becoming more and more people over time are becoming, it's like the 100th monkey syndrome, where, people that aren't even in the same geographic place as one another are going through similar awakenings. And I know it's true because all the time I get people in my group programs or even my individual programs that are telling me like they just started waking up last year or last month, and then there's others that have said, oh my God, I feel like I've been awake for 60 years. And so much of it is because of the experience of darkness. Like for me, one of the, very early on, something that implanted in me this seed was being in school, being in middle school, and seeing 9/11 play out on the televisions. And I just knew, I was like, 12 or 13. I just knew there's something wrong here. There's something fugazi here. That it can't be. You can't tell me they found 19 passports in piles of burning rubble with jet fuel. It can't be. And then immediately, the war and the Patriot Act. I just knew, even as a kid, right? So it was that experience of seeing that darkness play out, seeing that I'm getting this feeling like what I'm reading in my history books here in school is not the whole story. I'm getting the feeling that what I'm being taught in economics and all this in school is not the whole story here. but it was only through seeing that darkness. And 9/11 was a huge awakening point for, so many people on the planet. But it's essentially the characters that are playing those really dark roles in politics and economics and all that on this planet, they're serving as that contrast, but they're still going to have to balance out that karma in some way. It's not just because the soul plans it, it's not a free pass at all. The same laws apply. So in the context of just regular people like us on this call, the lifetimes that we had, whether they were in medieval times or whether they were in Victorian times or whether they were 30,000 years ago, there's going to be a few lifetimes that we had where we play kind of a nasty character. When I do my past life regressions with people, a lot of times what happens is we go to 3 lives and 2 of them are like really positive lives. And one of them is like, oh boy, I was kind of a nasty character here. Right. Or one life you saw, they see themselves getting really victimized. And then another life they see, oh boy, I was kind of the bad guy here or the bad girl here. Right. And so there are those handful of lives where we build up negative karma. And then we have to see that playing out sometime in our future lives before we can move fully into the ascension process. Think of negative karma think of like a river, and the negative karma are dams. They're these small dams that are building up and creating choke points on the river. And as we're able to move through each negative karmic experience again in this life, and if we're able to successfully move through it, we then clear out that dam, and it allows for the water, the energy to flow unencumbered. And that's what allows us to then move fully into the next steps of our ascension process, of our conscious ascension. So how do we move through negative karma? It's not as simple in my view. And I will say I've had people come to me over the years and tell me, oh, this, Indian guru or this new age teacher or whatever, has this method for clearing negative karma. There's mantras on YouTube that literally are for clearing negative karma. The Hindus have always had mantras, chants, praying to Shiva or praying to whoever else, to clear out negative karma. How much, through using mantras or magic, can we actually circumvent the necessity of experiencing negative karma and the reverberations of it? I don't know. My suspicion is only to the extent that our soul green lights, only to the extent, and it's similar to the question of how much can our guides intervene and assist us in our lives, right? How much can our spirits guides intervene? Let me know in the chat if you know who your spirit guides are. A lot of us do, because have you ever wondered why, every day there's people dying of car accidents. Today, thousands, probably around the planet, tens of thousands of people die of a car accident today. Why is it that some people have stories, including myself, including me, several times, of feeling and seeing that I was saved by one of my angels, by one of my guides from a potentially fatal car accident? It happened to me 3 times. Why me? And why one of my favorite teachers, Amora Kuan Yin, she channeled through these amazing books called the Pleiadian Workbook, the Pleiadian Tantric Workbook, the Pleiadian Perspectives on Human Evolution. I 100% recommend these books, especially for those of you that think you're Pleiadian Starseeds. I'm not a Pleiadian Starseed. I'm a Sirian and an Andromedan, but I love just learning from the Pleiadians as well. I like learning from all the ET races if I can. Why did she leave the planet in a fatal car accident in Mount Shasta in 2012? In Mount Shasta, think about that. She left the planet. She's a Pleiadian channel. Mount Shasta in California is probably the foremost Pleiadian portal on our planet. It is the home of Telos, which is a 5th density or 5th dimensional colony essentially of beings living inside Mount Shasta. Let me know in the chat if you know about Telos. Do you know about Telos? Have you had people on talking about Telos?
Yeah, but I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. It's been a while. We
Yeah.
didn't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. But to get back to what I was saying is like, why did Amora Kuan Yin leave the planet in a fatal car accident in 2012? Why will tens of thousands of people, perhaps today, pass away due to car accidents? And then why do others like myself and let me know in this chat if you've had experience, or a family member or friend that's had the experience of feeling like an angel saved them from a car accident. Why? And it has to do with contracts. It has to do with contracts we make with our spirit guides, where we say, okay, if I'm in a situation where I could potentially be seriously harmed to an extent that would stop me from moving on with my ascension or service mission journey that I wanted to, or that could take me off the planet, so I'd have to then reincarnate, which would be a delay essentially in what I wanted to create here. So if it comes to that, I want you to save me. There's a video I remember seeing on YouTube. I think Coast to Coast AM, one of my favorite radio shows, they posted it, of a spirit. You can literally see it on a CCTV camera in China, pulling there's a person standing in the road, and a bus was obviously not paying attention. It looked like it was like 5 a.m. and it was dark, and was about to just run them over. And a spirit literally pulls them back. And you can see it on the CCTV. You can see the outline of the spirit. So things like that, it's like, it has to do with contracts. It has to do with if as a soul, you ask for your guides to okay, why do you feel like you're led, like at a certain point in your life, like you were led to have this chance meeting with this person that ends up either being your lover, or maybe ends up, being this tumultuous twin flame relationship that didn't work out, and you end up learning so many important lessons from. Like in either case, it's likely that you had a guide and the other person had a guide that was whispering in your ear. You thought it was your own thoughts that was saying, go to this coffee shop or go to this park. Like you woke up that morning, you had an idea. I'm going to go grab a Starbucks at this place. And then you sit down on your laptop, you start talking to someone, and you meet someone that's very important to you. Why does that stuff happen? It's because of our guides influencing us when we ask them to. So the important things that are meant to happen in our lives are things that we ask our guides to do. So it's the same when it comes to like karma. It's contracts. We had desired as a soul to create certain negative karma with another soul. Okay. So someone that's in my, Monsef, if you were in my soul group and we were both souls, we might be sitting around a conference room table up in heaven. That's always how it's been shown to me. And I see these sheets of parchment paper and these like magical quill pens, and we're writing these things out, and there's our angels and family members around us. And I'm saying, all right, we both want to have the experience in this life of addiction, to bring that up again, right? So I'm gonna play the role of your mother, and I'm gonna be an alcohol and drug addict, and so I'm gonna be born maybe with Neptune in my 6th house, across from Saturn or something, or maybe Neptune and Jupiter conjunct in my 6th house, something like that. So that's when I'm going to be. That's when I'm going to choose to be born, because I want that planetary influence. And then you're going to say, okay, I want that experience because I want to know what it's like to become my own person. Because in this other lifetime, that I want to try to work on in this lifetime, I just listened to everything my parents told me. I was born into a wealthy family, and I never really developed my own personality. So what I want to do, Matt, because you're going to play the role of my awful, addicted, deadbeat mother, then it's going to drive me out of the house. I'm going to leave the house when I'm 14 and go live on the streets and develop my own life. That's an example of a contract that could be worked out. Now, just because we're choosing that, it doesn't mean we're not creating negative karma. We are. we're both creating negative karma. I'm going to create negative karma by hurting myself through addiction. I'm going to create negative karma by being a bad mother and not caretaking, not serving my kind of divine role as a mother. And then then Monset's going to create bad karma whenever, he screams at me and calls me a bitch or whatever. Right. So we're both going to create negative karma, but we're learning the lessons that we desire to in that life. Maybe one of the virtues I want to learn in that life as that drug addicted mother is self-love. So maybe at the end of the life, maybe at the very end of the life, when my life is about to be over, in this example, I realize that, oh my God, I hated myself because my mother hated herself and because my father hated himself. And the virtue that I'm supposed to learn is about self-love. And then maybe the virtue Monsef is supposed to learn is about forgiveness. Maybe he's supposed to go through this process of having these tumultuous relationships with women later in his life that remind him of his mother. And then towards the end of his life in that example, he has to, come up with forgiveness for all these characters, right? But that doesn't mean we didn't create negative karma. The karma still goes on our ledger, so to speak. And then in some way or another, because it's in our energy field, whether it's in the next life or the lifetime after, we have to in some way move through that karma. So how do we move through negative karma? The karma is, and let me know in the chat if this is interesting and helpful for people. I'm going to answer that question from. There's some great questions from Susanna and Angela. I'm going to make sure I answer those questions in a moment here. So how do we move through negative karma? So what usually is going to happen is you're going to, as a soul, plan to have experiences in your ascension lifetime that are reminders of the negative karma, but there is no necessity for the experience to be as grand, to be as big as it was in other lifetimes. So let's say in another lifetime, you really, really, really hurt someone in a very, very bad way, whatever that could be. It doesn't mean that in this lifetime, you have to experience it to that extent coming back to you. What's necessary is the emotional experience of it. What's necessary is the experience of, I feel victimized. I feel hurt. I feel like, I'm no one, or I feel like I've been taken advantage of, or whatever. In whatever way it comes, that has to do with the way your soul plans it. It'll have to do with however your soul feels would be most helpful to you without derailing you. So it's like walking this fine line. It's like the soul doesn't want to lead you off the edge of a cliff because you've gone wacky from having such a horrible life. Your soul wants to lead you to that edge of the cliff, which is why, as an aside, I believe that in almost all cases, I actually believe in all cases, suicide is not planned by the soul. Suicide is something that is, it's not that the person has gone wrong. It's just that they've decided through their own free will that it's too much, which is their own free will. And then they come back and they'll repeat things in probably a little bit less intense way. The soul will say, okay, that was too much of a plate to give to my avatar that I've created in this life. Let me give a slightly lighter plate and we'll try again. But the point is that you in some way have to re-experience the negative karmic experiences. If those of you that are astrologers or understand astrology, you'll find that they happen generally when interesting planets are crossing interesting places like Saturn and Pluto, for example. And once you experience it, and a lot of times there's a re-experiencing aspect to it, especially when it comes to like relationships, romantic relationships. It's a very common theme that like people that come to me for work and that I work with, a lot of them are women that have been in ongoing, dragging kind of narcissistic, relationships with narcissistic men that have been victimizing them for years. And they're re-experiencing this trauma over and over and over again. And then, you go back in their history in this lifetime and their father was a narcissist or their mother was a narcissist. And what the soul is trying to do is trying to prod them to, like I said before, to stand up for themselves and to move in a different direction. When they finally move in the different direction, that is the first step in overcoming the negative karma. The first step in overcoming the negative karma is making different decisions. If you were victimized, it's not something that was ever your fault, but usually it's a redirection in some way, unless it's different, with things that happen in childhood, until the age of, 17, 18, whatever, like we're under the house of our parents, if we're lucky enough to have parents that, some of us are orphans, but especially in adult life, generally these negative karmic experiences, whether they're accidents or relationships or illnesses or whatever, they're redirections. Your soul is intending to, my friend Rob Schwartz, who I did a great interview with on my YouTube channel, he calls them bump contracts. It's bumping you. It's bumping you to a little different path. And so the first step is going through the redirection and becoming different in some way. The easiest way to put how do we know that we've overcome negative karma is if we have evolved. Have we evolved? Have we become more spiritually mature? What is spiritual maturity? Spiritual maturity is being in charge of our emotions, is being more at peace, is forgiveness, compassion, love, empathy. So the more for most of us, it takes these bump experiences, these bump contracts, these redirections to get into that, stopping self-harm. And self-harm comes in the form of addiction, literal self-harm, staying in bad relationships, bad diets, not taking care of ourselves. All this stuff can, be defined as self-harm. Moving out of self-harm, moving out of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. You had the great job, and you blew it. You had something and you blew it. Why? Because of low self-esteem. Moving into higher levels of self-esteem. Moving into being more of service to others, and service to others doesn't have to just be humans. It could be animals. It could be plants. It could be the earth. It could be just being, service to others through visualization, through stepping into a higher frequency and sitting there. So moving through negative karma is about becoming more evolved. So you ask yourself the question, okay, through this experience, whether it's a relationship, accident, illness, whatever, what have I learned? And what have I become better at? How have I become more evolved? That's how you know you've moved through the negative karmic experience. A lot of times, the universe will then, or really it's our soul, it's our life plan, it's our contracts, it's what we're magnetizing through our energy field. Let's say that you had this big chunk of like solar plex in the back of your solar plexus where you didn't know how to stand up for yourself. You've been victimized over and over because in another lifetime you were victimizing others as well. Maybe there was guilt there on a subconscious level. Maybe you were raised religiously and there's guilt there, and there's guilt just embedded in you, right? And maybe one of your main lessons, one of the things you want to work on in this lifetime is letting go of guilt and standing up for yourself. So maybe because of that guilt, and it's this size, you magnetize to yourself this really awful, toxic, romantic relationship with a man that's gaslighting you and taking from you and taking your energy and blaming you for everything. And because of this guilt complex, you can never get out of that. But then something happens. Maybe he does something really bad to you, or maybe something happens in your family that wakes you up, and you say, you know what? I'm ready. Something within you, the light switch turns on, and you move out of that relationship. Okay, now you're becoming more evolved because you made a different decision. All right. Now that fist size in this example, block, maybe now it's smaller. Maybe now it's this size. Okay. Now, so you still have work left to do. Now your energy field is going to magnetize to you at some point in the future a test to see how much more evolved, how much more spiritual mature you've become. So months later at work, a coworker is abusing you or berating you or blaming you or accusing you of something you didn't do. In the past, you would just clam up and say, okay, and just, you're right, you're right. But you say, no, you stand up for yourself in that moment. And they say, oh, okay. And you don't get fired, or you do, whatever. And that test, now that dissipates the rest of the karma. Now, because you don't have that block anymore in the solar plexus, you then meet a man that loves himself, that loves others, that doesn't carry this weight or this narcissistic personality. And you then are able to have a balanced, healthy relationship. You're able to have a union, right? So that's an example. So dissipating karma, it's about moving through the experiences. It's about, but the question is always, how do you walk through the fire? And it's, what have you learned? How have you become more evolved? Now, in my view, the best way to, if we can, and I believe that it's not always possible to circumvent karmic experiences that we carry in our energy field in the backs of our chakras, but we may, in some cases, be able to, or if not circumvent, we may be able to lighten the load. We do it through conscious self-work. We do it through conscious evolution. Those of you that are watching this call, you absolutely are on the path of conscious evolution, conscious work. Those of you that have dug into your natal charts, dug into your soul's history, your Akashic records, whatever. Those of you that are reading the spiritual books, those of you that are learning techniques for healing, those of you that are going to healers and getting work done or working on yourselves or being of service, work on others, those of you that are saving animals, those of you that are helping people restore their health, any of this stuff that is of the frequency of ascension. Think about things in terms of frequency. Anything you're doing that's of the frequency of ascension, that may help you to circumvent negative karmic experiences. Because think about it. If you've already done the work, then your soul doesn't have to bring you that thing anymore. You've already done the work. And I want to talk about forgiveness as well, because ultimately, forgiveness is a huge piece of karmic resolution. Forgiveness is eventually something that we experience no matter what. Why? Because from the experience of the soul, there isn't even a need for forgiveness, actually. And for those of you that end up purchasing my package B, where you get 17 of my recorded webinars on top of the live Sunday group calls, which are amazing. I know someone in here I see is from my Sunday calls. There's a webinar that I created called A Deeper Level of Forgiveness. And I go through and explain the 5 stages of forgiveness from a soul level. The final stage of forgiveness is understanding that there was never any forgiveness to be had in the first place, because this is just something that is souls that you'd already planned out. This is something that is souls that you had desired to experience. But to get to that point, there are levels and stages of acknowledging that someone was only acting or only speaking from the level of consciousness that they could be at in that moment. And they couldn't have been at any other level of consciousness. That's where they were. And then acknowledging that you've learned from this experience. You've evolved from this experience, and thus looking back, that it's actually an experience that was valuable and that you wouldn't be who you are. This is one of the most important things to understand and remember and journal on. Ask yourself the question, if I didn't have this difficult or toxic relationship or experience, or if I didn't have this illness or this accident, or I didn't have this disability that I was born with, or I didn't have this challenge or this money challenge or whatever it is, would I be the same person today? Would I be as evolved as I am today or not? Now, some people get stuck. They get stuck in these negative karmic loops where they don't actually evolve. obviously there's people out there that addiction has spun them out to living on the streets, and addiction has caused them to go to criminal activity and harming others. Not everyone ends up evolving as quickly as others. Those of us that are evolving very quickly, which is everyone on this call, this is because we've chosen for this to be our ascension lifetime. Our soul says we're ready. Our soul says you're ready in this lifetime to go through rapid evolution. I like to say we're trying to get caught up with the rapid evolution of the planet herself. Thinking of Mother Earth or Gaia or Tara in the context of a being. And she is a being, I certainly believe. And as souls, we're trying to catch up with her, because if not, the ascension is going to be delayed. The ascension is an astrological phenomenon. It's an astronomy phenomenon. It's because our solar system is moving through the photon belt. We're starting to just dip our toes into the photon belt, which is this area of increased light emanating from the galactic center of the Milky Way. We're at the end of this massive galactic cycle and starting a new galactic cycle. So we're trying to catch up with Gaia in her ascension. So because of that, those of us that are in our ascension lifetimes, we said we want rapid evolution. We want to go through karmic experiences quickly. That's why most of us planned rocky rides. Some of us didn't. I've certainly I've had clients over the years, a handful, that planned really easy lifetimes. Why? Because they've already done the work in the one before this. They already did all the hard work in the lifetime before this. And they said, you know what? I still want to be here and contribute to the ascension. And a lot of us that are in our ascension lifetimes right now, we're going to, achieve the ascension in this lifetime. And we're still going to say, you know what? I still want to come back and be here on the new earth for how many other lifetimes. It's what it's called in the Hindu tradition is the bodhisattva. The bodhisattva is the being that has already experienced spiritual ascension, but still comes back to be a teacher, right? I'm not that. I'm someone that it has gone through and in certain ways still is going through just really intense lessons in this lifetime. My teachings, my wisdom is a result of all I've been through. That's forefront on my website. That's why I share that. And that's very true. But there are others. There are teachers that are of that bodhisattva consciousness, right? Let's talk about the idea of a service mission. The idea of a service mission is that there's something that in your ascension lifetime you wanted to contribute to this planet, something very tangible. I like to liken it to a dissertation. If you go for a master's degree in university in the United States, or probably in Europe as well, before you get your master's degree, you have to write a dissertation, and it's this hundreds of pages of literature that sometimes takes people years to write. And as a soul, we want to leave that legacy. We want to leave that service work on on this planet. Now, you absolutely do not have to have had to move through all of your negative karma and clear all your negative karma before you can start work on your service mission or your dissertation. Not at all. You start whenever you feel called to start. And a lot of times it's not even something that is consciously like a natural, it's not even something that's a conscious decision. It's more of something that starts happening to you. Like for me, I fell into this work. I never, ever, ever, ever had any desires to be a spiritual teacher, to be a psychic, to be an astrologer, to be any of this. None of it. I wanted to be an entertainer. Okay. I wanted to be on stage entertaining people. All right. Either that or I wanted to be working in sports, which most of my jobs were in sports. All right. But I remember back in 2012, I think it was, I had just started to have this curiosity about all this stuff. And it was because I was going through a really weird, difficult period in my life where I had all sorts of questions. So I said, you know what, let me go to a psychic. And I went to a couple psychics and I was like blown away. I was super intrigued. I was like, I want to know more about this. So I started getting the spiritual books, and I found witchcraft, and I wanted to learn, like, what's this about? And I remember doing this one spell from this spell book that is like a simple tea leaf spell, where it's supposed to show you what your mission is like in life is. And it had different categories. And I remember one of the categories was entertainer. And I was sure it would land on entertainer. And it landed on healer. And I was like, what the F? Like, no, like, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a dentist. I had no interest in becoming a doctor or a dentist. I didn't even think of like spiritual healer at the time. I didn't even know what that was. I was just kind of dabbling in these little witchcraft books. Well, it happened, because obviously it was something that was in my life plan. But for me, I fell into this work. A lot of people, I fell into my service mission. After I fell into my service mission, and over the past 5 years, it's been my entire life pretty much. Now it is a conscious thing. Now I am consciously always innovating and finding new ways to spread my messages of wisdom and love and healing, and spread my frequencies of love and healing to others, finding new ways to help people, creating new programs, creating retreats, etc. So now it is a totally conscious thing. I'm 1,000% on board. I work my butt off. I work sometimes 90, 100 hours a week because I am so invested in my mission. Okay. Not sometimes, most weeks I am working that much. So I'm totally invested now. But at first I just fell into it. And that's what it is for a lot of people when it comes to the service mission. A lot of people just kind of unwittingly, through difficult experiences, end up kind of falling into their service mission, and then later on it becomes something conscious. There is the rare people out there that it is something conscious from the get-go, that from the get-go they know what they want to create, they know the type of impact they want to have on the planet, and they're doing it. But your service mission is absolutely crucial. You won't be complete. Your experience as a soul in this body that you're in this lifetime will not be complete until you have created that service mission. For some people, there will be a benchmark of that. It could be a book. It could be a piece of art or a series of artwork. It could be some sort of class or group or something that you're heading. It could be an experience of going to like a sacred site and actually stepping into the grid lines there and having some sort of transformational experience. You might get the subtle sense that you're being used in that moment, that energy is coming through you and being implanted into the grid. There usually will be a couple of benchmark experiences that are signs of your service mission coming to life. But in the more overall macro sense, it is a body of work. It's a body of work. When you look back, when you're at the end of this earthly incarnation, what legacy did you leave behind? Who did you help? Who did you help? How did you help them? How did you leave a positive, energetic legacy on this planet? For some people, it will end up being much more tangible. Like I said, it could be books and classes and all that. For some people, it will be just more energetic. Some people are meant to be more quiet in the background, kind of the Mother Teresa type consciousness, where you're just walking the earth, interacting with people, spreading your love just in a quiet way. While some people, it's supposed to be louder. Like I'm obviously louder. I'm a Leo rising also in astrology, so I'm loud anyways, right? I was always told in school that I was too loud. My whole life, I've always been told I was too loud. That's why one of the reasons why I want to be an entertainer, because then I can be loud. I'm supposed to be loud, But at least in this job, I can be loud as well. But the service mission it'll be colored. It will look totally different for everyone. But that's the ultimate trajectory. You've gone through all your negative karmic experiences. Something that's very common that I see with people, and you can see it a lot of times in the natal chart as well, is their soul plan to have this series of really difficult karmic experiences in the first third of their life, up till their first Saturn return, or the second third of their life, up until their second Saturn return, or the first half of their life. And after that, it's like they've reached a new plateau. and it's more of a pleasant experience. The karmic deck has been cleared because they've moved through the experience and they've evolved enough. They look back and say, wow, look at what a more evolved, more peaceful, more loving person I am now than I was 20 years ago. That's evidence that these negative experiences have shifted me in a positive way. I have learned, I have evolved. And then they get to a point where it's like, okay, now life is a little bit more about creation. When you don't have negative karma that is magnetizing experiences to you, then you 100% have the free will to create. And it may be the case that for many people, the way your lifetime is planned is there's all this gunk in the first half or first 2/3 or third of the life. And then the rest of the life is left kind of this like open field where it's like you can create now out of free will. Because when we start to ascend and evolve and elevate in frequency, think of it as we start to merge more with the soul self. You know, when I'm speaking on shows like this, I feel my higher self or my soul self speaking through me. And as we evolve, we start to spend more time as the soul shining through the human vessel. This is why it's important to understand about ascension, that ascension is more about grounding than anything. Ascension is more about healing the wounds of the lower 3 chakras so we can fully be in our physical vessels. And the soul self naturally then begins to shine through and be able to illuminate through our vessel and be able to act as us, essentially. Whereas when we're in a lower vibrational frequency, which is where most of the people on the planet still are, there's quite a separation between the soul self and really the way I see it is religion is, you know, the 3 main religions and cults, they feast off of that idea of separation where, you know, God and God's here and you're here. And the truth is all is aligned, all is one. If you're at that frequency, if you're allowing it, if you're able to harness the higher frequencies, then it becomes very natural. You start to act and be as and you'll start to feel it. You know, where is the soul? The way I've always experienced the soul is it's behind your eyes. The consciousness, it's a couple inches behind your eyes. And sometimes if you've ever had the experience, let me know in the chat if you ever had the experience of feeling like you're looking through your own eyes as the soul, right? I have that experience all the time. I'm kind of feeling that a bit now here and there when I start to channel from my soul, from my higher self. So essentially, as we move past the karmic, so in the context of 2023, look, if there are certain karmic experiences that are meant to happen for you in 2023 that aren't pleasant, they're going to happen most likely. All you can do is remember the questions. How well do I move through the fire? Essentially, how evolved am I? How mature am I? How spiritually mature am I moving through the fire, moving through difficult experiences? Okay. Some of you may have difficult experiences that are ongoing now, right? And the other question is always, how have I evolved? How have I evolved through my negative experiences? How have I become a better, more spiritually mature, more evolved being? And how is my soul self, my authentic soul self, starting to shine through now, brighter and brighter? But all that being said, by doing the conscious work, by doing the clearing work, one of the best ways to clear yourself that we can all do is clearing our energy fields, clearing our chakras. Yes, going to a spiritual healer like myself is great. It's easy. You lay down and you get work done, and it's great. And it's one of the most wonderful things about our little new age community is that we all can work on each other. But you can also do it yourself. You can also use the violet flame. Imagine the violet flame around you, clearing out all negative energies. Imagine the light shining through you, white lights, clearing yourself out. You feel this crystalline white light. Imagine it now, just seeing yourself clear out the darkness, right? You can imagine your chakras. Imagine your chakras all like this, 6 inches or so in diameter, bright, vibrant. Okay. If you don't know what colors your chakras are, where they are, you should certainly study that. You can learn all about that in my Human Energy Field 101 webinar, which I believe is part of both packages, right? We're going to do a very powerful, so I have a wonderful group that meets on Sundays that has been just spectacular. It's been such a success. People are absolutely loving it. It's called Ascending as One. Why is it called Ascending as One? It's because the point is that we're meeting as a group and we're assisting each other. We're elevating each other, boosting each other in our ascension processes. And we have a call coming up. And if you purchase either package A or B, which are heavily discounted, 176% off, 177% off, we also have 2 payment options. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And I know a lot of you on this call are going to be joining. January 2nd, it's actually a Monday because January 1st is a Sunday. We're doing stepping into your highest vibration for 2023. And through that, we are going to do some powerful energetic processes to make sure we are our clearest as possible. And not only that we're our clearest energetically, that we have the most clear vision of our 2023, how we want it to go. Because the number one rule of manifestation, and I love teaching and practicing manifestation, the law of attraction, it works for me all the time, okay? It's quite amazing, is having a clear vision. So that's an example of where we're going to help ourselves as a group and as individuals have the most clear vision of 2023. And so we can manifest that. And then there's another call that's going to be great in January, healing your solar plexus chakra, because there's a collective solar plexus wound on this planet. On this planet, we have been told, we have been made to believe that we are not as powerful as we are, that we're, like I said, religion loves to keep us in the separation consciousness. And so many of us, as I've talked about, have these solar plexus wounds in this life where we're attracting maybe people that are taking advantage of that. Maybe we're stuck in addiction. Maybe we have these visions and year after year, we say, I'm going to do this program and this program and this program, and nothing changes. That's because you still got that solar plexus wound. I'm going to do my absolute best as a vehicle of service, as a messenger of love and healing and service on this planet during that call on January 8th to help people heal their solar plexus chakra. We in the past on my program, we worked on the root chakra, we worked on the sacral chakra. People had the most amazing healings where they were after the root chakra, they finally were able to feel safe in their life. After this healing the sacral chakra, they were finally able to have fun in their lives since then. And by the way, also in January, we've got understanding and seeing your past lives. So I'm going to take you on a journey as a group into past lives and help you to really understand much more deeply than, this is like an introductory masterclass here with Monsef. But on that January 15th call, we're going to take you into past lives. So really join my Ascending as One program if you want to dive more deeply into clearing and moving forward. Every class that we do on this Ascending as One program is teaching you something. And not only that, I'm going to really teach you astrology. We start out each call by digging into the astrological charts for the coming week. I help you to understand how it's going to affect you. You are naturally going to learn astrology through these calls. So if you've been interested in astrology, these calls are great. Then we move into the teaching for the day. And we always do group energetic healing processes, visualization processes, EFT tapping. And there's a whole webinar in package B called EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique through the 7 main chakras, which is a deep dive into tapping. But we do a 10-minute tapping experience because I'm also a tapping practitioner on each of these Ascending as One calls. And then we spend the rest of the time answering questions, doing a Q&A, and I do live readings for people. It's great. We've also got the astrology basics class. If you join package B, which you get VIP level, you get the 4th call as a bonus each month. So January, it's going to be astrology basics and Syrian channeling. I actually channel Syrian extraterrestrial beings. I only do it though on these Ascending as One calls. I don't do it anywhere publicly. I only channel from this group of Syrian beings, and it's been very powerful every time so far. on these Ascending as One calls. February, we've got healing your heart chakra, healing your inner child, how to connect with your guides, an overview of ET races and Syrian channeling. And actually, for people that buy today, I'm throwing in as a bonus this Sunday's call. This Sunday's call on December 18th, we have understanding and interpreting soul contracts. So I'm going to go way deeper than I did today in this introductory class into understanding and interpreting soul contracts. So Montsev, how can people find my packages?
Okay, so yeah, it will be, let's see. It's on the chat here. And so it's the link.
Someone just purchased package B, Michelle. Oh,
Michelle.
Wonderful.
So it's the link is your divine.
Two readings with me. I want to emphasize that package B, you're getting at the VIP level, you get a 20-minute private reading with me outside of the Sunday classes. Okay. You can ask me anything that you want in those 20 minutes. Everything's on the table. Okay. So you'll get a reading with me for both January and February if you do package B and join VIP. And these prices are super duper duper discounted. If you go to my website, you'll see it's much higher. I'm doing this especially for the YDU audience. And as I said, if you get in today or get in tomorrow, you'll have time to be on the Sunday bonus call. So you'll get to experience Ascending as One right away this Sunday for understanding and interpreting soul contracts.
Wonderful. Thank you, Matthew. And so the link is yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, MATTHEW. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live call page or later on the replay page. And also the link will be on later on YouTube description, the YouTube video description. And yeah. So
great.
It really feels really exciting.
People have already purchased in this group package B, and that's awesome. Yeah. I really look forward to working with all of you. You're gonna, I guarantee you're gonna absolutely love the Sunday calls. They're pretty large groups actually, but there is enough, one-on-one interaction just in the Sunday groups. I try to get to as many people as I can answering your questions in the third hour on each of those calls. And look, a lot of people don't have time on Sundays to spend 3 hours with me. I would love for you to. If you don't, drop in and drop out. Come for the second hour and just do the healing processes. Come for the third hour and just do the live readings and Q&A. Or you can watch the recording. You'll get to download the recording right after each call. So if you miss it, and there's also slides. You get a PDF with the slides with the astrology for the week. So you can have it as a guide. You can print it out. You can say, okay, Tuesday, we got Mars making this aspect to Jupiter, and this means this. And Wednesday, we got the moon void, of course. So I want to, avoid this. So you'll have a printout, or you can save it to your computer so you know how to navigate the week to come. And also remember, if you do package B, you get that 20-minute call with me every month. And so you imagine, how much does it cost just to go to a local tarot reader, and you got to drive there, right? And no offense, but a lot of local tarot readers aren't going to, be able to look. They're not going to have all the skills that I have, because it's not just, tarot. I love tarot and I teach tarot. And that's, by the way, I do want to mention before we go that, I do have a tarot class that I'm teaching right now as well. But it's not just tarot for me. I'm incredibly clairvoyant. I can look into soul contracts. I can look into past lives very easily. I can look into so many things that a local reader can't. So why not get yourself in for a 20-minute reading for me every month for the next 2 months? So you'll have someone to bounce ideas off of and to help you understand what's ahead for you in the coming weeks. And not only that, you're getting all of my work essentially from the past. I'm really throwing like all of my work from the past 5 years into these packages. Package A, Montsev, I believe we get what? We get a bonus of 8 webinars, right? They're already recorded. Yeah. So, and they're not required. These are just bonuses. If you want to dig in, some of the things we have are like clearing your inner blocks to activate your your maximum financial abundance. I heard from people after that webinar that, a couple people got a brand new job. A couple people made a great stock, or crypto trade or something and made a lot of money. And it really will help you get yourself into the frequency of abundance. We got mastering your intuition. We got the EFT tapping. You can go on that page and read all of the descriptions of those bonus webinars. Package B, you get 17 of those. So again, I'm throwing literally all of my work over the past 5 years into these packages. You can go read the descriptions on the page. Go ahead and do that now if you can. Package B, you're getting Dissolving the Ego, where I'm doing these 12 powerful energetic activations to actually permanently dissolve parts of the ego self that are stubborn, that may be stopping you from stepping more into that soul self, right? Teaching how to heal with colors, teaching you moon and candle magic, teaching you how to create the fifth dimensional version of yourself, teaching you how to navigate the dark night of the soul, teaching you that a deeper level of forgiveness. So all of my work, it's over 67 hours of content. If you want to dive into it, if you got the time, why not? If you don't have the time, pick and choose, pick 1 or 2 webinars. And, when you have a chance, pop in your headphones. I make it really easy. I send you private links that you can click on and just pop in your headphones on your smartphone, or just click on your computer. Then the video's playing right away. No need to download anything. I make it super easy for you guys. And you're going to learn so much from these webinars. And a lot of them have powerful energetic activation. So, if you've ever wanted to do an energy healing with me and it's not in the budget, or you don't have time or whatever, this is a great way to get some energetic activations from me through my recorded webinars. And also, by the way, on that sales page, if any of you, let me know in the chat if any of you are tarot readers currently or are interested in becoming a tarot reader. Tarot has been a huge part of my journey. I actually started my professional career in this new age realm a long time ago, over a decade ago, as a professional tarot reader working out of a psychic shop. It was in my early stages of awakening when I was just kind of getting into this stuff, and I still had no visions of being a professional tarot reader. I just wanted to do it as a little side gig for money and for fun on Saturdays and Sundays. But I became pretty darn good. And, I ended up traveling around the world and doing free readings for people. And anyways, the tarot has been with me as a huge part of my journey for the past over a decade. And I love teaching it. I teach a tarot course every single year. And the time has come actually now. It's coincidentally starting right now. We actually had the first class on last Saturday on the 10th. And we have the second class coming up on the 17th. So if you really want to dive in deep with me, why not learn the tarot as well? And you can click on the link on my sales page to check out the tarot course. It's a 13-week comprehensive, in-depth course. There's a reason it's so long. They're 2.5, 3-hour calls. The tarot does, I'm warning you, has kind of a steep learning curve. It's not an easy thing. You really got to be committed, but I have had wonderful success. One of my former students, for example, has gone on to become a very famous TikTok psychic, TikTok tarot reader and psychic. She's at Avalon Kisby on TikTok. She's got 50,000 followers, and she was an intermediate, before coming into my class, and now she's become very advanced and one of the best tarot readers that I know of, really. So whether you're a beginner and have never touched a tarot, or if you're someone that is at an intermediate level and just wants to get better, my tarot course is really for anyone from never touched the cards all the way up to intermediate. I've had others in the past as well that have been intermediates and have actually already been professionals and have really become more advanced through my course. That's why it's a comprehensive course. It's really meant for only people that really want to commit. So I understand it won't be for everyone, but if anyone is interested, check out that as well on my page.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Matthew. And the packages, both of them, feels really exciting, and I'm really happy that you are offering both of them along with the tarot reading course. And also for me, I really recommend Matthew's work with the webinars. I attended maybe a few webinars, and the amount of understanding information that you get, it's really amazing. And I remember one of them, I think it was about healing from the ex, relationship past experience, and the healing experience in the end, it was really, really powerful. I really loved it. And and also the private session I had with him, private session before, and it's really amazing. It was beyond what I expected, and we went really deep in that journey. So
I really thank you. I appreciate hearing that. That how to move on completely from your ex webinar is is a part of package B. And I know it sounds like oh, how to move on from your ex, but really it's about the soul level. It's about understanding why breakups and decouplings are happening on the soul level and how to heal your heart. And I share some of my experiences with healing the heart through that. And I'm so glad that that was really helpful for you, Montse.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, Matthew.
Yeah, and we want to get some live readings, right? And also,
yeah,
there were a lot of questions. The chat's been really active, which has been awesome. I love this new format, by the way. I have to say, it's a lot more fun doing it.
Yeah,
it's fun anyways with you, but I like doing the Zoom. So I'd love to answer some of people's questions, but I also want to do live readings. So you let me know what you want me to do first.
Yeah, so everyone, for the live readings, you can raise your hand and I will, or you can unmute yourself. And I remember
and for the live readings, let's
questions.
Yeah, what I'd like people to ask is along the lines of, why did I go through this sort of experience, or why am I going through this? Like, what happened in past lives, or if you want to ask me about a soul contract. I've been having this difficult relationship with my partner, or with my mother, or with my sister, whatever. Why? Or if you want to ask me, like, what are my kind of main obstacles or things that I'm working on as a soul right now? Or if you want to ask me about, what do I see for your future? Those would be good questions. And I might even bring out the tarot for some questions as well. But yeah, let's do some readings. And also I do want to try to answer some of the questions that were in the chat from before, but just let me know whatever you want me to do first, Montse. I'm all yours.
We do one, we switch one reading and then one question. And
sounds good.
Okay. So we have Karen. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Karen.
Do you want my video?
As you wish.
It's up to you.
Okay, let's go for it. I put my scarf on and everything, so.
Oh, you look wonderful.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Gosh, I would love to know anything about past lives. I currently have been chronically ill for 15 years, chronic pain and fatigue, on lots of medication, which we kind of discussed Sunday, that I felt was blocking me, although I have to forget
Karen,
that.
by the way, you've been on my Ascending as One calls, right?
Yes. I've never had a reading, though.
Them?
Oh, I love it. I look forward to it all week. And, I really wasn't into tapping at all before this.
Yeah.
I felt stupid doing it. But
yeah, at first it's kind of silly, right?
That has become my favorite part.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I love it. It just feels so good afterward. I start smiling and sometimes crying a little, and I feel so good afterward.
Awesome.
So,
well, thank you for that.
I've never had a past life reading or anything. I only saw psychic once after my mom died, so that was about her.
Okay. So you've been having chronic health issues for about 15 years.
Yes, and I've always been somewhat spiritual, raised in a home without a God, but I always knew there was one, spirit. But since my illness, the awakening has started. So I think my purpose kind of in this life was just to be here during it.
Yeah.
But any past life thing you could connect me with, I would love to hear.
Yeah. Let me tap into my guides here and see what I can feel for you. So show me any really significant or important past lives that can help Karen understand her experience with the pain and why.
And it doesn't have to be pain related. Anything's good.
Yeah, I'll just see what comes up. There's a light. So I'm gonna kind of relate this back to what I've been talking about today about playing, both sides of the karmic wheel. It's like the Wheel of Fortune card in the tarot, by the way. The Wheel of Fortune card is the card of karma, karmic experience. And, there's all sides of the wheel we're going to experience. The other card of karma by the way, for everyone, is the Justice card, number 11. The Justice card shows us that experience of duality, weighing both sides of positive and negative. But what I wanted to say is that what I was shown was that there was a past life where you were an unwanted child, where you were abandoned by the mother, and you were raised as an orphan, and you were in very unsafe environments for most of your life. And I think you actually ended up dying in your 20s, and your soul in that life really had wanted to dive deep into being unwanted. You also had many, other more pleasant past lives where you had, stable families, or you were, someone who was the matriarch or the patriarch of a stable family. But this particular one that they wanted to show me for you today was about being unwanted. And another one was about, being in a kind of a guerrilla army of men that were going around like raiding villages and stealing and taking and kind of beating people up. And that's the soul, like I said, wanting to experience both sides, both, victim and perpetrator. And in this life, the experience of pain ultimately is about, on the deepest level, it's about worthiness. And I would suspect that back through your family lineage, you would find these themes of like feeling unworthy, maybe even like things that have to do with like, I don't know where, what your like, it's genetic lineage is, but maybe like being a part of a group that was ostracized or the minority or something in a society.
Irish mostly. Yeah.
Right. So it must have been I don't know which faction of Irish people, but maybe that was a part of it, or just being Irish immigrants in the United States, right? Are you in the US?
Yes. We came over as Quakers, I guess. And, but yeah.
Okay, there you go. Quakers are certainly people that are ostracized from society traditionally, right?
Yeah.
So there's this kind of like ancestral energy, and you've also played, these past life experiences of like, either being a part of a group that was like the majority group and like imposing, and also, right? So ultimately, deep down, your whole healing process and service mission, I would say, boils down to self-love and inclusion. So it may be that you're destined to create sorts of inclusive groups, whether it's people, animals, both, where people are feeling that they're loved and embraced and helped, essentially. Like that's your, maybe a big part of your service mission. It may be more philanthropic. It may be more just like local, like I said, quiet in the background, creating these little groups.
Probably more animals would be
perfect.
Cats.
Perfect.
I'm a cat whisperer.
Awesome. Yeah. See that, and that's a way that, because that it's about the ultimate. What's important is the emotional experience and the impact. And as a planet, we go to the Pleiadian planets, for example, in my Starseed missions, where I bring people on, on these regressions to different planets, and we see that the beings, the humanoid beings and the animals on these Pleiadian planets are communicating with each other. They're talking, they're saying, okay, this is your land, this is our land, what can we exchange resources? Where on this planet, of course, we have this history of just dominating and taking from animals, right?
And I actually feel a connection to the Pleiades. It's always been what caught my eye.
Yeah, it's definitely where you come from. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And but it's just maybe one of the main things you wanted to, it may be the way that your soul says we can contribute in this life to that ascension frequency is through, being of service to animals. A lot of us are like that. And I'm an animal lover myself, and I go out of my way to help animals any way I can as well. So I really, I love that you're doing that. So thank you for being on my Ascending as One program. And, I'm sure a lot of people on this call will be joining us. And I hope I was helpful. You're welcome. Montef, can I
Yeah.
take a look back at the chat and see if there were any questions that I wanted to answer?
There was a question early from Susanna. What
Okay.
about twin flames catalysts?
Yes, that was one of the questions I wanted to answer. So, okay, the way I see, first of all, as a caveat, the term twin flame can be a bit complex because the trouble is that every teacher, every voice on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram has a different definition of the twin flame, and a lot of it is based off of their personal experience, of course, right? Now, the way I see twin flames is that it is a real phenomenon. It's not something we're making up. It is a real phenomenon. It is a special type of contract with a soul that you usually have some sort of history with. They're not always directly in your group of 12, but they may be in your monadic group, for example. And you've created this contract where you both are going to cause the most emotional turmoil, the most emotional tumult, the most, heart break or heart strings, to be tested. And you guys are essentially you keep bumping each other back and forth. Like I said, that bump contract, like Rob Schwartz talks about, but this is, you keep bumping each other back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You might be together for a while, but then you might separate. You might be together again. You might not talk for a while, whatever. But the plan was that each time you put each other through this emotional turmoil, it's causing you to evolve afterwards. Most of the time, people, from what I've found, are not destined. It's not in the life plan that they're supposed to end up with their twin flame, like, permanently. But once in a while they are. More often than not, I think it's like 80-20, I'd say, that you're not supposed to end up with your twin flame, that they're just supposed to be this catalyst back and forth. You guys are both catalyzing each other towards evolution, pushing. It's this abrasion. It's like in astrology, like a square aspect, that sort of energy. There is something called the divine union. And that's the term I like to use. The divine union partnership is a partnership where you both have reached a certain level of evolution, and you both are then able to merge. You both are then able to merge into a coherent field where now you're experiencing a sort of twin ascension, where you're both ascending individually, and now you're both ascending as a couple. That can then extrapolate out to then you have kids, or maybe you brought kids in, and now those kids are able to have, as a family, you're now experiencing that. Because the progression when it comes to ascension, we have individual ascensions, we have twin ascensions, we have family ascensions, we have group ascensions, we have community ascensions, and then a planetary ascension. All are necessary and all are happening concurrently. It's just that the group ascensions, the community ascensions, and the planetary ascension, at least from the evidence we see in the outside world, are happening very slowly, which they are. It is happening. It's happening slowly when you look at things from like month to month, year to year. If you zoom out, it's actually happening incredibly quickly. But when it comes to twin ascensions aren't something that all of us planned. Some of us did, some of us didn't. If you did, it'll happen. If you didn't, it won't happen. It's kind of as simple as that. If you thought it was supposed to happen with a certain person, and it turned out that it ended up being this tumultuous experience back and forth, and it ended up being a catalyst for learning and evolution, it's probably a twin flame contract. If you have been able to harmonize, that's the key word, harmonize frequencies with someone, and even if one of you moves ahead a bit, maybe for a couple of years, and you guys feel this vibrational dissonance, the other you comes like that, and then maybe you move ahead, and you guys are always harmonizing, even if sometimes you're a little off kilter. That's more evidence of like a divine union partnership. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you, Matthew. And also thank you, Susanna, for your question.
Yes, thank you, Susanna.
Let's see. I have Katie Speck. Can you please unmute yourself?
Hi, Montef.
Hi,
Matthew.
Katie.
Hello. Hi, Katie.
How are you?
Good. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Well, you are the light in my day today, because I don't know if it's karma, but everything has just not played out well today. So I don't know if there's a message in that, But I
Sure.
really enjoyed your talk today. It really
Wonderful.
gives me some aha moments. And I would love to know what's in store for me, if there's something going on. I have some.
Can I do some
kind
tarot
of-
for you?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm going to ask, what guidance does the tarot have for Katie right now? What would be helpful for her to know, or her to hear?
Okay.
What guidance is the?
And I like that piece about the divine union partner. Yeah, I knew I didn't want the twin flame. That sounds a little.
Well, some of us, for a lot of us, actually, we need to actually have, and we wanted to as a soul planning out our lifetime. We decided that the twin flame was crucial, and that's why we made that contract, because in order to get to the divine union partner, we had to learn and evolve through the twin flame. That's very common.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
I don't have a lot of time left, so I'm hoping I just go right to that divine union partner.
Very well, maybe. But let's see what message do we have for you right now. So, okay. Some message for Katie. Okay, first, just as a brief tarot lesson to everyone, I'm going to show the cards. Got the Star reverse. Got the Ten of Cups reverse. Got the Six of Cups reverse. So we start out with a lot of reversals here. I'm feeling that the message with these first couple cards is that you've been feeling pessimistic. You've been feeling disconnected. You've been feeling maybe like you've fallen out of like having this strong sense of trust in the universe, and kind of like, when do I get a break? Why me? Why do I have to go through this? And life hasn't been as fun necessarily. You're lacking that sense of fun and enjoyment. Then we get the Lover's card, and we get the Ace of Pentacles. So these would indicate strongly together either a new relationship or a new job. Sometimes it could be both. Either way, my sense is that you're at a point in your timeline where right around the corner, you're likely to experience something new that's really good. Now, the back of the deck, I call the card on the back of the deck the key card, and it colors, it gives us details, and it helps us learn how to interpret the rest of the draw. You got the Four of Cups. Again, it's like this sense of like malaise. I need something new. I'm frustrated. All these cards spell frustration. But then it's as if I see this as a progression right around the corner. You've got something very good coming. You probably got pretty good transits in your astrology, and you're coming into an auspicious part. So my number one advice is to restore faith. Like, one of the things we can do with the tarot, I teach this in class 1, which you can download instantly if you join my tarot course, is a lot of times reversals are showing us, we have to ask the question, what do we need to do, or what perspective do we need to integrate in order to flip the card? So if we're feeling out of faith, out of trust, we need to get back into trust, and this will help lead us more quickly to, some good stuff ahead. So for you, it's as best you can, whatever spiritual tools that you use, whether it's meditation or music or dance or being in nature or art or whatever, get back into that for the rest of the year here. do your best. You want to help put yourself in the position for that positive manifestation. You got to clear out that frustration as best you can. Use your spiritual, like sixth house stuff. Use your spiritual tools. Get on my Ascending as One calls if you want. People always feel flying high emotionally after those calls. Whatever you want to do to get yourself in that higher frequency, because the universe is trying to, right around the corner, give you some pretty cool stuff. Perfect. So that's the message. So I think I was supposed to be a light shining for you today to give you hope, because there is. You're moving out of a more rocky period into a more nice period.
Love that. Thank you. And what's interesting today during meditation, what I heard was have faith and trust. And words. So thank you.
If you have a tarot deck, this would be the card to meditate on, the star upright.
Okay. Terrific. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Katie. And wonderful. Thank you, Matthew. And we had a question from Angela. Can you ask for reversal of the contract?
Yeah, that's a great question. Can you consciously rewrite a soul contract? Can you consciously reverse a contract? There are a lot of people out there that teach that you can consciously do that. My answer, and this is only, I'm 13 years into my research. I believe that in most cases you cannot. Most cases, a contract is a contract. What you do have free will variance with is which paths you choose in the contract. So something that when we do like the bonus call for you guys this Sunday, understanding interpreting soul contracts, we're gonna actually do a meditation experience as a group where you're going to be taken to a place where you can actually read the soul contract. Some people will be able to read them more clearly than others. The more clairvoyant you are already, the easier it's going to be, or the more clairaudient, the easier it's going to be. But for everyone will get something out of it. And for those that can, I'll do my best to read for them. But you'll see in a lot of these soul contracts that there's some stuff written in stone. Like, for example, a romantic relationship, it might be the meeting is set in stone. Like, remember I said before, you didn't know it, but your guides were whispering in your ears, right? And telling you that, you're supposed to go this place. But a lot of times, like further into the contract, there's options. One of the option might be, for example, in a romantic relationship, we're supposed to continue for another 3 years while our kids grow up. And then maybe one option is that, no, we divorce or break up now. And that's where that free will variance comes in. That's where you have, if there's free will variance written into the soul contract, and every soul contract is written completely different. It's based off of how much free will did your souls, if there's something really important that's supposed to happen in the soul contract, your souls will make sure that no matter what it happens, the soul is much wiser than the ego self. The part of self that asks the question, can I alter or can I reverse a soul contract? That's not the soul self. That's the ego self trying to control something that ultimately the soul controls. So it's about the free will variance. If there's a lot of free will variance, then absolutely you can alter and take different directions. If there isn't much free will variance written into the soul contract, then you really won't be able to, in my understanding. And really the caveat is that if there is that free will variance, if the soul allows it, then yes, you can absolutely go up in meditation, do work, and alter and change the soul contract. Absolutely. And I've talked about that in some of my, I think in my visualization techniques webinar, I talk about that. But it's like with the approval, with the stamp of approval from your soul, if there's something that you don't know or understand fully that only your soul knows or soul can see, where something has to continue to play out, then it won't work. And there's no harm in trying, it just won't work. Or it may be that although you may have the free will variance to make that change consciously, it could sometimes be that there's other parts of you that are reluctant to let go, for example, and so even though you're doing the ritual or the visualization or the intention to shift the contract, that there may be another part of you that's like hanging on and won't let go, and thus they won't work either. So the answer to that question is sometimes, but sometimes not.
Mhm. Thank you. That was very interesting. And thank you, Angela, for your question. Do we take one more live caller?
I can do one more, and then
One
I'm
more,
getting tired, but
please.
I can do one more. Yep.
Yeah. So let's do. Beth, can you unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi, Beth.
I love this. You've helped me in 1,000 ways that
Oh, wonderful.
that's been like definitely part of my karma. Definitely
Awesome.
Been my mom biggest challenge, but like I swear I feel like this call has made me turn that corner, because
Good.
it like literally breaks my heart to think that I had a lifetime where I treated people this way. Like,
You know,
when I hear that,
yeah,
I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry for all the things I've done in the past. Like, it just makes me want to like get on the floor and to my knees and cry, because like, I don't ever want to hurt somebody, especially the way
I want to address that for a second, because that's a really interesting point. And I certainly had a similar experience with that. So one of my first, and then I promise I'll get to your question, but I want to make this point. So one of my first, like visceral, if that's the word, one of my first like real experiential experiences with this concept of playing all sorts of characters in other lives and playing both sides was a psychedelic experience I had about a decade ago, where I was actually all alone out in the woods and going on this sacred journey. And I had stepped into a restroom facility. It was at like a state park or something. And it was in the middle of the night. I was all alone. And when I looked into the mirror, I saw my form change into all these different characters that looked all different races, all different heights, male, female, everything, even extraterrestrial. And some of them were like really happy, altruistic characters. Some of them were like nasty characters. And that was my first kind of real experiential introduction into the reality of non-duality. And it can be a bit jarring at first, but if you think about it logically, you can start to understand it, right? Why this would be the case. And it also actually leads you to compassion for others, because you realize that the people out there that are bad people are hurting each other. They're just serving a role. They're just serving a role and serving as contrast to the light. And that we've said in other lifetimes, we want to serve as contrast to that light. What's important to internalize is that it wasn't you. It wasn't you in this form. It was a different character that didn't know better. But really, you didn't know better because it was what your soul had planned. It was out of service, because you wanted to give another soul a certain experience so they could go through a certain experience of learning that they wanted to. So logically, you can start to work it out. But if there is a part of you that needs to say, I'm sorry, I've said it before. I've said, as a soul, if I can, whatever piece of that I can get in touch with, I am sorry for any harm I caused to others in any lifetime on this planet or any others. So it's good. But once you get past that, it's actually, to me, an enlightening, a very positive experience, because it just helps you to have more compassion, and it helps us to enter more closely into that frequency of non-duality, which is really the true frequency of existence, is that everything is all one, and we're all just different, we're all the divine, we're all just God or the divine, just in different form, playing different temporary roles. It's all just a temporary experience, everything. So, but yes, to your question.
Oh, I'm open to whatever you want to share. Let it be divinely guided.
Okay. All right, let's do another tarot draw. What would be helpful for Beth to know at this time? Okay. You show off the cards first. Page of Cups reversed. 10 of Wands reversed. Empress uprights. 9 of Pentacles reversed. And Temperance reversed. So my initial sense here is that, and then the back of the deck, the key card, we got the 9 of Pentacles, which I'll definitely get to. But my inclination here is that, like, either there's recently been some disappointing news, or there will soon be some disappointing news about something. Something didn't work out, but in the end, it becomes really the best thing for you. And it really helps you to step more into your power. But there is a sense of needing to bring more of, I would say, like a physical balance to your life. Needing to take care of yourself more, get into solid routines. And there's, I don't know if this has to do with career or not or whatever, but if you're undergoing or about to undergo a career shift or whatever, it's going to help you to move into the next stage of who you're supposed to be. And it may be where you're more in charge of your own work, or even being an entrepreneur, or being like, I'm super focused on the Empress card, which is about being, it's all about abundance and being the manifester of abundance. So I just get the sense, let me see, what do I sense for 2023? It's just, it seems, I don't, so have you recently been through a lot of changes? Or if not, you may be on the cusp of some changes coming here in your life.
My guess is it's a little bit of both. I mean, I started a master energy healing program that and getting into that whole realm, and this just in the last few months. So I guess that's pretty big, but that's been, but that's awesome. It's been awesome. I'm a personal trainer. My husband and I run our own business, and we've been pretty much destroyed by COVID. I mean, we're hanging by a thread,
Well, okay, that makes sense with what I was saying, the first two cards.
He's working on a pretty awesome project that I think could really propel us out of this. So I don't know.
I guess, okay, now in light of that, I guess the advice is to just remember that even with COVID, and this has happened to so many people with small businesses, is that no matter what the circumstances are, things are either obstacles come, either you're supposed to overcome them, or they're supposed to redirect you. And figuring out which is that for you. My sense is that there is supposed to be some redirection here. Maybe being a personal trainer maybe it was the first part of your career. And maybe it's not so much the second part of your career. Maybe this is a necessary redirection into being a full-time energy healer. And the necessity for money, for income, is the driving force that's going to really help you to quickly master that and make maybe you'll end up making a better income even at that. So yeah, that now everything kind of makes sense. And at the same time, it's like, I guess not letting fear, not letting anxiety, not letting worry affect your physical self, and nourishing, watering the garden of self first, which is like the 9 of Pentacles. And all of this is about like moving into like manifestation of entrepreneurship, really. So I think you and your husband are both, nothing of this is like has to do with the relationship itself. This is all around career, work, money, and taking care of self. So you rely on the foundation of the solidity of your relationship with your husband, which you're very lucky to have, and allow the universe to redirect. Like, just allow this redirection. Let go of any resentments against whoever about your business kind of being destroyed, because you look back and realize that was a blessing. That's kind of the main theme of all this.
Right. I've been pretty good about that lately, which is like a polar turnaround from how I was my whole life. My whole life, I was like, I gotta fix it. I gotta do this, and that's
exactly
like in the last, I don't know, maybe 10 months or less, I've been like, you know what? Everything always works out.
Exactly.
It always does. And you know what?
Exactly.
It always ends up way better. So I've really learned to like let go and have a lot more fun. Plus I got a puppy about a year ago, September.
Awesome.
Who is like, I call him my joy boy. And I feel like
Yeah.
his lesson for me is stop, chill, have more fun.
Exactly.
It's gonna be okay.
My dog does that for me. Just rub my belly. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing in life. That's it, you know?
Yeah.
But Beth, this is a thank you. And this is a perfect capper to our masterclass today, because you're a perfect example of everything I talked about. You know, the universe maybe over and over might have given you obstacles, and maybe you were someone, because of your nature of being a go-getter and being aggressive, you were always trying to like resist and you know, no, my way,
Yeah.
right? And finally you've evolved where you've learned surrender and faith, and just allowing the universe or your soul or God or whoever to just guide you. And that is an absolute real world evidence of evolution, and that you've moved through negative karma. There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect
I
example.
know I want the next thing. Like, I know it's going to come through some sort of weird twist, but it's eventually going to get us better. So
No, you're closer than you think, actually. You know, really, like in the tarot, like you want to meditate on the Empress card, because that's about creating, especially as a woman, and the Nine of Pentacles as well. These two cards together, you're actually right there. It's not about waiting for the next thing. It's actually about drawing upon the aspects of self that already are strengths, which is creating. But it's just doing it in a different way. I would go deep into being an energy healer now, make that your full-time profession. And I would try to match your income as a personal trainer and then exceed it. That's my advice. So thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Beth. And thank you, Matthew. Yeah, so very grateful to you for all the time you spent with us, and information, the guidance, the supports, the live readings you gave to the audience. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Wonderful. And also everyone, thank you so much for joining us live. And also thank you for those who will be watching or listening to the replay. And thank you for those who ask their questions. And again, I highly recommend that you sign up for one of the packages that Matthew is offering to us. And you will find them on the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Matthew, MATTHEW.
Yep.
Or you can click, correct, or yeah, or you can click on, go ahead. You want to say something?
I was going to remind people that package B, you get 2 private readings with me, one in January, one in February. So what a great way to start out the new year. Plus 4 calls per month, the group calls on Sundays. Join if you want, watch replay if you want, or, you know, don't join if you want. It's fine. Get the bonus call coming up this Sunday, and you get all of my work, my recorded webinars from the past 5 years, all in a package. It might take you a while to get through them. Pick and choose the ones you want to get through, but you're going to learn so much and activate and heal so much within you. So package B, I'd highly recommend if you can swing it. We have a 2-payment option available. We have a 30-day, no questions asked, money back guarantee as well.
Wonderful. And yeah, so also the link will be on the YouTube, this YouTube video description on the replay. And also there is the special offer button on the live call page and the replay page. And also there is also the 13-week tarot reading course. And the link for that, you will find it on the same page. And yeah, so again, thank you, everyone. I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye-bye, everyone.
Namaste.